And and it's somewhat of perhaps it's in some ways an ingrown toenail of the environmental movement. Now, I'm an environmentalist. I think I've done perhaps more good for sustainable energy than almost anyone. I don't know, certainly one, Tesla, does more electric cars than all of our competitors combined. So at least in the West. So, the sort of mad extension of environmentalism in the limit has people concluding, mostly implicitly but sometimes explicitly, that humanity is a blight on the face of the earth, that a scourge that must be extinguished. Things that Hitler would agree with, kind of thing. So he's more selective, but it's like you can't have that. This is total madness. We must we should be expanding the scope and scale of consciousness. We should be extending to the stars. We should be an exciting spacefaring civilization, and to explore and understand the wonders of creation.
And the very first commandment of the Bible, of course, is to have kids, to appreciate the innocence of children, to appreciate the creativity, the fascination, and exactly, and everything that you said before about not having revenge in hearts. Our children are, unlike Freud, who saw them as these tiny little narcissists. In Judaism, we believe that there's this beauty to kids. I have to tell you that the view. The photos of you bringing your beautiful little son X to the meeting with Erdogan. Now, I'm not here to put you into a uncomfortable position. Erdogan is not, a big Jewish favorite. He's called us Nazis and Hitler, and he tries to be this strong man. And suddenly, you come to this meeting with him holding this beautiful baby, and it's so disarming. Like, you're not ashamed to bring your son, your baby son, to a meeting with the head of state. And it was a tremendous statement of you leveraging the kind of credibility and power that you've amassed in order to promote the innocence of a child and being a father. And I love what you said, how you were raising him. Honestly, it was one of the most touching things I saw in the media this year.
I was about to say. I mean, kids are. I think people, maybe if they haven't had kids, don't realize that kids are the source of the greatest happiness. Because I think for the vast majority of people, they really love their children, and when you love something, you derive happiness from their happiness. So, it's when my kids are happy, that makes me happy. Unfortunately, when my kids are sad, it also makes me sad. It's not all good, but if my kids are happy, it warms my heart and it makes me happy. So I actually tell friends. I have many friends who have no children, or perhaps only one, and I'm constantly urging them to at least have one or two, ideally three if possible. And in fact, I do this so frequently that people already know the subject matter when I'm about to say something. Because you were trying to convince me to have kids. Yes, I am.
No, but I love instead of organizations like the ADL criticizing you, you have done more to promote this idea of children. You have to understand how important this is for Jews, especially. We are not a proselytizing faith. We don't have an army of missionaries. So unless we have large families, the Jewish people disappear. There were 18 million Jews before the Holocaust. 6 million were murdered. That still left 14 million. We haven't grown at all in those 80 years. We're still at 14 million. That's it. Because the Jewish birth rate is so low. So instead of the Jews criticizing you, you're the first person with real technological credibility who doesn't get up and say that the forward thinking of society is actually determined by a lowering birth rate, declining birth rates, which is what we hear all the time.
Yes, and I wasn't kidding earlier when I said that most of my friends are Jewish. Now they're not all sort of religious, but some of them are. But the a number of them have not had children at all, and I'm like, and there's such, and these are people who are incredibly smart and talented. They have a great heart. You want more of them in the world. That's what I'm saying.
And by the way, I wanted to express
couldn't Einstein had a few more kids? Come on, Einstein.
Good point.
I don't know. It's just do it for humanity, man. So.
And by the way, I mean you have 10 kids, thank God. I just wanted to express also my sympathy in the really compelling Walter Isaacson biography, which I finished in one Friday night Sabbath. That's the one good thing about not using technology. I read the whole book in a night, stayed up the whole night. When you describe losing your firstborn child in your arms, I got to tell you, I had tears in my eyes. That was very. I'm sorry, very sorry.
No, the sadder than I thought a human could feel.
It was very, as a father of 9 children myself, it was very heartbreaking. The next thing I wanted to go to quickly is, so that's the first thing, Jewish values, kids. Second is, I was amazed in your conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu, who I've, thank God, known for 34 years. At Oxford, he used to come to speak to my students all the time. You have a right to kind of take credit for whatever might happen between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Because the reason why MBS is probably thinking that he has to really get, in all the Gulf states, the Abraham Accords, moving away from a petrodollar economy is because of Tesla. Killing gas-driven, gas-powered vehicles is where the Gulf states started to think, oh my God, this is not going to last forever. More than any other consideration, I think MBS and the sheikhs of Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Bahrain and of course Morocco doesn't have the same kind of oil, but they're all thinking that electric cars are the future, and that's the biggest consumer of these fossil fuels. So just talk to me about that for a moment. Did you think to yourself as you develop? I know that you speak about sustainable energy, but did you also think to yourself as you built Tesla, and as you did you think that there might not have been a 9/11? Back then, Saudi Arabia was spreading Wahhabism all over the world, and all because of petrodollars. Did you think to yourself this might bring peace in the Middle East?
It's funny you should mention that. I wouldn't say it was like. I did actually. Let's put it this way. Certainly I was well aware that it would change the geopolitical power balance. So that countries that had like a lot of oil obviously would not be as powerful in the future as in the past if we have a sustainable energy economy that is using electric vehicles. And that's rather obvious. Is that if you change to a sustainable energy economy, then oil becomes less important. Now, I don't think oil becomes. There's always going to be some role for oil. It's just not going to be the primary means by which we power, transport, and electricity, in terms of oil, gas, and coal. So it's not going to completely disappear, but it will shift the power balance, and that's already happening to some degree, and will happen to a greater degree. It might have played a role. I should say also that generally when I have met with world leaders, I've for what as much as my opinion is worth, I've generally encouraged them to have peaceful dialogue with other countries, and I've encouraged heads of state to reach out not through their sort of foreign ministry necessarily, or it's often somebody 3 levels down in the foreign ministry, but to reach out head of state to head of state directly. And have some of that has been helpful. I hope so.
Well, I truly believe the rise of electric cars, which is synonymous with you, is the principal reason why the Gulf states.
Okay, we will now move to the next speaker.
I think we might have lost you.
Yeah.
Maybe Michael.
We will now move to the next speaker, to Nathan Sharansky, the chair of the.
Apologies. I think we probably need to make some tweaks to the UI on this.
Of the Combating Anti-Semitism.
So the Michael thing isn't completely intuitive.
Yeah. We will now move to Nathan Sharansky. Nathan Sharansky, please.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody, and Elon, of course, for this opportunity. So, guys, as some of you know, I was born and lived and fought in the Soviet Union, where it was clear that there is no freedom of speech and a lot of anti-Semitism, and it goes well together.